So I just came from watching Back in Action. Back in Action is a Netflix film. It stars Cameron Diaz and Jamie Foxx. It was released January 17th, 2025. This is going to be a non-spoiler review of this film. This is one of those action comedies. Action comedy has become, I don't know. I don't know who told streaming services that they need to keep making action comedies, but they just keep coming. As soon as I saw this film, I just remembered The Union, which stars Mark Wahlberg and Halle Berry. Like someone who's black, someone who's white. Yeah, and also it's like a spy thing as well. Anyway, let's start off with the positives. Jamie Foxx, who I really like, and Cameron Diaz, who I really like. They have really great chemistry in this film. It's been a while since I saw a film with either of them, so that was pretty good. The characters, including their kids. So the basic plot is that these two spies, they end up retiring and they start trying to raise a family, so they end up having kids, and I thought the kids were charming. I mean, they have this teenage daughter who's quite annoying, but she's a teenager, so I expect that from her. There's some really good jokes in here. Like there's this one joke I really liked where Cameron Diaz's mom, she says, "I'm British, so British people don't hug." So some funny stuff here and there. Let's go to the negatives now. The negatives is, let me go back to Cameron Diaz's mom. Cameron Diaz's mom has like this boy toy that she's dating, and the film really leans in hard to their romantic relationship. And Cameron Diaz's mom, the guy that she's dating, he's quite annoying. He's used for comedic relief, but they overuse him and he becomes quite annoying. In fact, he does something very important in the third act, and even the way it plays out, it was so random. The way he plays his role in the plot, and I was just like, this character has been so badly handled. I didn't like it. The action is good in some places, but it comes off as generic in many other places. These two are supposed to be specially trained ex spies, but sometimes you even watch the way they fight, and it just looks like they are brawling. It looks like if you had like two people who'd never received any real special training, if they fought and it was just a brawl. Some of the fight sequences look like that. The plot is very generic. You've seen this plot many times. Two ex spies, they stop being spies, then they have to jump in because something happens that blows their cover, and then there's a MacGuffin which everyone is fighting over. I can just feel the chat GPT just typing the whole thing. The villain is also very forgettable. I guarantee you, by the time you will finish this film, you will not even remember the villain's name. He'll be brought up near the end of the film, but by the time the villain's name was brought back up, I was like, who? Very forgettable. The MacGuffin, you only get to see what it does near the end of the film, and it's not really anything. Typically these MacGuffins for spy movies tend to have like, oh, we can hack and release missiles. Oh, we can something really threatening. But when it's demoed to prospective buyers who want to buy it in an auction, it's funny because even the Union also had an auction. It's like, generic ass Netflix film. Yeah, so even when you see the MacGuffin is being demonstrated, I get why it's dangerous, but it just doesn't look like the kind of thing I would expect so many people to fight over. The opening scene is quite dumb. There's a lot of stuff that happens there, and you're like, this would never play out this way. There's so many issues with just the way the movie opens. And I was like, that would never play out that way. Why would they end up there? No one would let them go that far like that. It's funny because the opening scene is pretty dumb, and then the scene that just follows later, where they're on like a private plane, was actually more decent. So it gives me the feeling like this film had like multiple writers, and these multiple writers were given sections of the film to write. So, in my opinion, the third act of the film feels more generic than the rest of the film. The third act of the film feels like, well, we're about to reach the end, guys, so let's just write something very generic and obvious and wrap up the whole film in a nice bow tie. It just felt very generic and obvious. Also, the film has a huge plot hole. These ex spies, they decide to become parents and they retire from the spy life, but then they get exposed through a YouTube video. I don't know, man, that made no sense to me because they've been raising kids and their oldest, I think, is 14. You're telling me in 14 years you managed to stay hidden and then you get exposed by a random YouTube video shot by some kid. That could have happened anytime in those 14 years, especially in this day and age we live in. Everyone's always on their phone recording something. If it just takes recording you and putting it on YouTube, that could have happened anytime in those 14 years. Anyway, out of 10, I think I'd give this movie a 6. A 6 out of 10. It's enjoyable. If you're bored, you can watch it. It will hold your attention. It has good pacing, but I think it's just another generic ass Netflix film with a good cast, and they don't even do anything with that cast. And that's the issue with most Netflix films. The cast is typically just a poster child for the movie, and the whole film doesn't have to really do anything special. Even by the time the film comes to an end, you feel like, I just spent 1 hour 50 minutes gawking at my screen and laughing at a couple of good jokes, but it won't leave like a super lasting impression on you. But that's just my take. I give it a 6 out of 10. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to smash like and subscribe. Tell me what you thought of this film. It's funny because I think in the first, let's say, like 1 hour of the film, I really enjoyed it. I was actually willing to even give it an 8. But then as it went by, it's just devolves into like this generic mess. As the plot plays out, you're just like, it's not as impressive as I thought it would be. Anyway, for more reviews for Netflix films, I'll leave some on screen in the comments. Tell me what you thought of this film if you've seen it, and then I'll see you in the next one.